four, four, one, one, two, three, five, eight, 13, 12, 5, 13, 13, 1, 26, 11, 20, 23, 5, 5, 17, 5, 2, 2, 3, 9, 3, 29, 23, 8, 16, 4, 44, 23, 23, 6, 8, 19, 45, 23, 23, 23.
Hello, Bob. It's the doctor. It's been a while. Too long. I'm recording this to send you via the IV. I think you're actually about 13 at the moment, but I'm going to schedule a message for about 30 years later. Hopefully, you'll get it after we've already met. If we haven't, you're going to struggle to get your head around this for quite some time. You see, I've always wanted a pen pal. And well, I just read a collection of your letters. Ones you haven't even written yet. Letters to people you've yet to meet. No spoilers, but the raw mail, that's what they call it, becomes a ridiculously huge success. Your publishers can't keep up. I got my copy from an Arcadian antiquities dealer for 23 credits. Lovely chap. Barely 3 feet tall. What was his name? No? I digress. You see, a lot has been happening recently. A lot more than usual, which in my line of work is already a loss as it is. People have been hurt. People I care about. I'm running out of friends. And I'm running out of time. Never enough time, never enough space. Now, who was it that said that? Was it me? Sounds like something I would say. But I remember being impressed by it when I first heard it. Now, I always was looking for an opportunity to impress myself, astound myself even. Yeah, did you know that we are born without a self? But we do have a seat for the self to sit in. If you want to have a self, you have to astound yourself. To astound yourself in a bit. That's the easy part. Once you've got a self, you have to keep it interesting. You have to astound it on a regular basis. Mild titillation just won't cut it. The last chap, the guy in that bloody awful patchwork coat, he was too intense, too moody. He wasn't interested in astounding anyone, let alone himself. I think that's how I came to be. We needed to take drastic action. A Hail Mary, the nuclear option. Sorry, bad choice of words. But at the time, I was very necessary. I was our best last hope. Was that last best hope? start at the beginning, then I'll skip around the middle for a bit, then probably touch on the beginning again before finally getting to the end, which is actually the beginning. I mean, it'll make perfect sense once it's edited, but the trouble is I don't know any good editors. Maybe that's your job. I'm recording this while the TARDIS recharges herself. Back in the good old days, this meant a homecoming to Gallifrey to visit the Time Springs. I wish you'd seen them, Bob. They really were the most incredible things. Huge jets of time erupting from below the planet. Not liquid or gas, but a fourth state of matter with properties akin to light. All the time in the universe originated from these time springs. Every moment, every thought, every memory, every consequence. The Time Lords found a way to tap into this to power their Tardii. We thought it would last forever, because it was where forever was made. But their enemies got wind of the importance of this place and travelled back to the time of the first time spring eruption. Stemming the flow, they cut off the supply for the future. Without time, there is no future. So the enemy sealed both their fate and that of Gallifrey. All that remained were a few hotspots dotted around the galaxies that were enough to keep my TARDIS with a bit in the tank. Trouble was that these hotspots were a nexus for violent conflict. In many ways, it was the conflict that created the hotspot in the first place. Which brings me to the place where I am now. This was once the most incredible place. Its inhabitants were on the brink of stellar travel, on the brink of taking their strengths to other planets, other civilizations. They were also on the brink of the most terrible war. And no one remembers why it started. But anyone still alive remembers how it ended. Here. The site of detonation of the most dreadful of weapons. They didn't know what they were messing with. They thought they could control it. In the end, it destroyed everything. Including time. Including the future. It really was the most incredible planet. And I wanted to put things right. But this event prevented any time travel to before the time it happened. The repulsion between the time void that was left behind and what came before was too much for even the TARDIS to penetrate. But what was created was a vast reservoir of time potential. This time potential could be absorbed by the TARDIS, fuel the old girl, in much the same way as the time springs used to. So I came here regularly, and over the visits, I've started to notice something. Shadows. Shadows of those destroyed by the weapon, imprinted on the surroundings like a reflection of light on a negative, preserved for eternity. So I thought. You see, every absorption by the TARDIS diminishes the impact of the blast. Things happen very slowly. The changes in the shadows were barely perceptible at first, but over time, their hue started to fade. And then, the most incredible thing happened. The shadows started to escape. As they faded to nothing, the shadows were reborn as pure thought and energy. And as they ascended, there were these agonizing screams. Once captured, frozen in time, but now a shadow was reborn, and its first instinct was to leave this terrible place. Viewed from space, the planet was illuminated by these spores of energy being shot out into the galaxy. Eventually, I stumbled onto a plan to diminish all but a few scintillas of what damage the weapon caused. I took the recharged TARDIS direct to a planet at the edge of the universe, where time is yet to arrive. space to store time. Apophenius is so out of the way that time doesn't even bother going there. It's a unique kind of temporal anomaly. It's caught in between a binary system of stars, Madrugada and Eterna. You get a completely different horizon, depending on which way you look. Eternal dawn one way, eternal sunset the other. It's so close to the edge of the universe that time hasn't caught up with it yet. And where there is no time, there's no decay. It's the loneliest place in the universe. You don't want to spend too long there alone with your thoughts. But it's the perfect place to put all this toxic energy. What was once a planet-destroying catastrophe is now a localized incident. Still devastating for those close by, but ultimately not the planet killer it used to be. So I come here now, not to save the planet, but to protect it from itself and the future it was capable of, and maybe still is. Before I got to work, the planet was a smouldering rock, inhospitable to nearly all life. Made that way by the bickering of two tribes. Everyone had a nickname for them. I called them the Knuckleheads. The Knuckleheads and the Neanderthals. New Calids and Neothals, if you prefer. Those who survived remembered what had gone before and they renamed their own planet. Make sure you're sitting down for this bit, Bob. The planet was Earth. Renamed Scarred Earth. And after centuries more of the dying legacy of humanity, the planet's name mutated once more. Earth to Scarred Earth to Scar... Oh, now this would be a spoiler. The petri dish upon which a new life form mutated and took shape until it became the original Earth's and my greatest foe. So that is why I'm here. The circuit breaker between two future realities. One that must prevail, so the other can never exist. The shadows of Hiroshima seed the souls of humanity across the galaxies. Every anguished scream is another chance for humanity to prosper elsewhere. Once they're free from gravity, they're drawn towards life across the universe, microbial or mammoth-sized. Once the shadows find a willing vessel, they imprint onto the host and wait, and wait, and wait, for millennia usually. Transferred via reproduction, like any mutation or virus, until the host is sufficiently evolved to demonstrate humanity. But this is no epoch-spanning evolutionary path. This is a supercharged revolution. The shadows are prospective selves building their own chairs to sit on. And they don't muck about. Bloodlines are manipulated from within. The unnecessary side roads of evolution are coned off to focus on a super highway of development. And this, as you can imagine, leads to some pretty shitty excuses for interstellar humanity. There are whole races spread across multiple galaxies that have evolved from a single angry shadow. This unnaturally selective approach to evolution is the perfect foundation for a fascism. Nothing like the sort that Hitler and his cronies tried to bring to your planet. This is a fascism that does not stop at borders or continents or worlds. This is intergalactic fascism, capital I, capital F, and it's taking too much of our time to keep it in check. They go by many names, but over time they all end up with the same preposterously self-aggrandizing bollocks. The Axis, the shadow approximations, the guild of temporal fuckwits. So I come here Not just to save the Earth, but to save the universe from the shadow virus and all the damage it causes. But it's not all doom and gloom, Bob. No siree. There are pockets of the beautiful humanity too. These were shadows that understood their time on Earth was just a blip on their timelines. Their destiny is a life dedicated to joyous creativity and exploring inner and outer space. Beautiful humans, better humans, better humans, beta humans. While the angry shadows spread like a virus, the beta humans were more like spores, each one quietly going about the business of spreading wonder and joy in their little corner of reality, whilst reaching out across time and space to form networks. Networks powerful enough to share ideas across history. An idle doodle in the colonies of the Outer Rim becomes the dream of a storyboard of an interstellar ranger in a 23-year cryosleep and ends up as an ancient ballad sung by terraforming settlers huddled around a fire from the flaming wreckage of a guild transporter knocked out of orbit onto the surface of the fledgling planet below. These spores start revolutions wherever they go. Revolutions of the mind, body, and soul. They pull a kind of cosmic trigger and unleash the full potential of this reality and all that is possible and sometimes mildly improbable. You see, the most powerful force in the universe is an idea whose time has come. It spreads across the networks like wildfire, stoked by a chorus of yes ands. It was one of those ideas that got me here in the first place. What started as a hypothetical thought experiment along the lines of, if you could travel back in time, could you, would you, should you kill baby Hitler? Of course people have tried it, and it turns out that Hitler had just the right blend of megalomania to lead him to ultimately fail. If you kill baby Hitler, there are far more dangerous candidates waiting in time to fill the void. But this, here, in Hiroshima, this awful self-inflicted wound that had such an appalling end result. Here at Ground Zero, there is no time, no cause, no effect, no consequences. Dumping these poison rays on faraway Apophenia has prevented any permanent damage to the Earth. Scarred Earth healed to a flesh wound that can be dressed with a band-aid or two. So here I am, the doctor, the cleaner, the boy with his finger in the dike of time. Just me and my shadows. They still haunt the time that I spend here, but there are precious moments too. Recently I found a young man fighting for his life in the wreckage of Shima Hospital, Ground Zero for the blast. He seemed to be miraculously unharmed, but he was surely to succumb to the radiation he'd absorbed. Charles was his name, I think. He was clutching a bonsai tree from the skull of someone he said was very dear to him. He just wanted to get home, to die in his own bed. So I gave him a 60-minute chronologue bracelet to let him die in the comfort of his own home. It is a marvellous bit of kit, developed by the Damanhurians.
Lost Doctor was played by Ken Campbell, who was played by Tom Baker. No, not that one. Ken Archive plundered with the climate mission of Daisy Campbell, music by the Time Lords. No, not those ones. And Reactor 23. Written and produced by Andy